What I'm saying is,
I think perfectly means that there's one copy perfectly preserved. That's one copy.
Okay, great. You think that?
No. That's the definition from textual variant of scholars.
No, but I don't care what they say. Why should we care about what white men say about what perfect preservation is?
Okay, Zakir Naik.
Zakir Naik is not a Muslim scholar.
He's not a Muslim scholar. Ahmed Dida.
He's not a scholar on this.
No. Okay, Dr. Shabi Ali.
Not authority.
I'm just going to keep naming scholars. You're going to go, not an authority.
They're not an authority.
So they don't know Arabic.
No, they don't. Go and ask him. I've got his number on my phone. Do you want me to call him now and ask him for you?
You can, yeah.
I've got Zakir Naik's number on my phone as well.
We'll have a chat with Zakir Naik.
Oh yeah. Would you like me to ask him for you? On the second view, the Quran would still be preserved. On the first view, the Quran would not be preserved. Do you get it?
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think the problem here then is that there are many Muslims who hold to the first view, not the second. And I just want to make it clear that the first view is wrong.
When you listen to this kind of, when people say that the Quran word for word, letter for letter,
right,
it makes it seem as if there's no variance.
Right.
I agree with that. And I think that's a mistake on our behalf. Can you say that any variation in the Quran that we see through manuscripts, through hadith, or through qira'at, or through any other way, any variation historically identifiable, the source of it originally was not from Muhammad based on this hadith?
Hello there.
How you doing?
How are you?
A quick picture of this guy. How you doing? You okay?
Oh, sure, yeah. I'll have your picture. Yeah, we'll do the picture. Where's the camera? Oh, there. Yeah. I'd like to have a chat, a debate, if you wouldn't mind, about Surah Al-Talaq, Ayah 4, Surah Al-Talaq, Surah 65, Ayah 4. Would you like to? Can I have a talk about that?
We already had a conversation about that last week. So, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, not me and you personally, right?
Yeah.
I haven't talked to you in person yet.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about the same thing over and over again.
You don't want to talk about it? I don't know. Sorry, this Muslim here was quite interested that I talk with you. And there are people here that have been saying that you're personal knowledge on this.
Yeah,
so
no,
I thought it'd be good
about this last week. So we want renewed content.
Right.
Because they've heard it last week. We don't want to, repeat the same debates and discussions.
Okay. I thought it'd be edifying for the brother here, because he wanted. He's a.
What do you want to talk about? Are you Christian or?
Yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah.
So why don't we talk about that?
Well, I wanted specifically to talk about something that this Muslim had questions on.
Yeah, I know you did, but that's the point. The problem is that we've spoken.
Okay. All right. Let's not talk about that topic then. Let's talk about the preservation of the Quran.
Okay, that's even better.
Okay, is that cool?
That's better.
Okay, so I guess the first question I want to ask you then is: do you think?
We get where's the?
There we go. My phone.
What's your name, first?
My name's Chris.
How you doing, man? You okay?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
You doing well?
Yeah, I'm alright.
So, I guess my first question is it accurate to say that the Quran has been perfectly preserved?
Yes.
It is perfectly preserved. Okay. Is it true, though, that the Quran was compiled by Uthman?
By the way, can we say this?
Yeah.
When we talk about the Quran, whatever questions you have about the Quran, can we also apply the scrutiny of the Quran to the Bible as well? Yeah.
Sure.
That way it's fair.
Sure.
So let me ask you the same question: is it accurate to say that the Bible has been preserved?
Let's answer my first question.
Yeah, I've already answered it. I said yes.
No. Okay. Well, has the Bible been perfectly preserved? I would say no.
Okay, good. So
not perfectly preserved.
Just on the level on the statements that we're making.
Yeah.
On the level of the statements that we're making here, that I'm saying the Quran is perfectly preserved.
Yeah.
You're saying the Bible is not perfectly preserved.
Yeah.
On that level by itself, do you feel like there's any implications on the fact that the Bible is not perfectly preserved? On the fact that Christianity is true or not?
Okay. All right. First of all, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because Christians do not hold our scripture in the same way that Muslims hold their scripture. Yeah. So as a Muslim...
No, but that's not my question. My question is, you said no. You've answered that question.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
What I was saying is that this is just you can answer this for me if you wouldn't mind. Yes. In Islam, is it the view that the Quran is preserved eternally with Allah on tablets? Is that the view?
On tablets or a tablet?
A tablet. I guess a tablet.
Well, I mean, the Quran and all of the texts, the Torah and the Injil. In fact, the conversation that we're having right now is preserved in that tablet. So all the variations as well so this is very important. Any variant, any textually acceptable variant of the Quran is also preserved in the tablets, yes.
Also preserved. So then, it wouldn't matter if someone had made a mistake in the transmission of the Quran, because that mistake is also still preserved in the eternal tablets.
No, it would matter, because obviously we would say, and this goes back to your first question as well, right? Mm-hmm. That the Quran is meant as a guidance for humankind.
Today as well.
Yeah, for human beings. So the end user is meant to be human beings. So if clearly, we would say if God revealed the scripture, whether it's the Quran or the Gospels or the Torah or whatever, that if it doesn't reach all the people in the same way as it originally reached the initial primary audience, then there's a discrepancy in the access to guidance that end users will have, which will put questions of, is God being just here in his delivery of the message?
Okay.
Do you understand?
I think you're going on a bit there. Listen, what I want to get at is...
Do you understand what I've just said?
Yes, I
What have I
understand.
just said?
Listen, what I want to talk about...
What have I just said?
You've talked about how there could be differences in...
That's not what I just said. You said I'm going on, but you weren't listening to what I said.
Because I just want a yes or no answer. I'm not talking about what you're talking about. You're talking about something different.
It doesn't matter.
Wait. I came here to talk about one specific thing. Chris,
listen.
I've come here to talk about
I don't want this
one
to
thing.
deteriorate.
I was patient enough to... Yeah, I know, but you're not answering me. You're sort of adding and talking about other things.
Give me one question that you've asked that I have not answered.
You're talking about things that I don't think you need to talk about.
You have asked
you're
me.
deviating from the topic.
What's the question that you asked me that I have not answered?
I want to know the Muslim belief about the Quran. I said, is it true that the Quran is preserved eternally on a tablet? And you said, well, kind of, and then you talked for a while about how all these other things are also preserved. Really, you could have said yes, okay? Just say, I want the very basic Islamic belief.
Why should I
don't want your interpretation of what that Islamic belief is.
Can I,
do you understand?
Chris,
Yeah?
Why do you care how I answer your questions?
I want to keep very closely to the topic, and I don't want to deviate. I don't want to deviate.
No, if it's relevant to the topic at hand.
Right.
And if it's edifying,
but you could have just said yes, because the answer is yes.
I want to elaborate.
Okay.
Are you dictating how
No,
I'm answering
I'm saying
your
that you can't then just go on a tirade about other things. That's what I'm saying.
It's not a tirade.
Okay, so let's be very precise with our language and be very clear.
Okay, keep going. What's the next question?
So what I'm saying is it true then that there were reciters of the Quran who had different codexes that had different numbers of surahs in those codexes?
When you say reciters, let's be specific. What do you mean?
Okay, so Ubay ibn Ka'b and Abdullah ibn Masud.
Okay.
Those are the two I'm referring to. Is it true in Islamic traditions that those two reciters of the Quran, who if I understand correctly, are said to be some of the greatest reciters of the Quran?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. They had different codexes with different numbers of surahs in those Qurans.
In the beginning, Ibn Mas'ud did not consider Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas as part of the Quran.
Okay. Yep.
And then he later retracted this position at the time of Uthman ibn Affan in the second Lajna. This is what Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani mentions in his compendious work Fath al-Bari. So, is it true, in the beginning there was truth in the claim that Ibn Mas'ud, for instance, didn't consider chapter 113 and chapter 114 to be the Quran. But he later retracted that position when the ijma' happened, or the consensus happened among the Sahaba companions.
Sure. Okay, so my argument then is that it is not viable to say that the Quran has been perfectly preserved if those who knew Muhammad, who were the companions of Muhammad, who heard him recite the revelation, differed on that revelation and could not agree on what it was.
What is your definition of preservation?
I'm talking about the Islamic definition that is perfect. In other words, there is no difference in word.
No, that's not what Islamic definition is.
That's not what perfect preservation is.
No, that's not what it means.
Okay, so what is it then?
Okay.
Is your view that it is everything is on that tablet, including all errors?
No errors. See, now what you're doing is you're poisoning the well.
Right. Have there ever been mistakes?
Chris, listen to me. You're poisoning the well, and you're not learning.
Okay, I'm not here to learn.
You are here to learn.
I'm here to have a debate with you.
Do you know how to speak Arabic?
I'm here to have a debate with you. Why do I need to know Arabic? Why do I need to know Arabic?
So if you're not here to learn...
No, I'm here to debate. That's literally what I told you I'm doing.
You're here to learn.
Okay, did I come here and say I was here to debate?
You're here to learn.
Okay, wait.
Number two.
No.
Let me answer your question.
See, don't just keep talking like this. See, you keep waffling, and then you throw out insults. That's not a way to do debate.
Did you know that Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani...
This is now just breaking down into insults. Yeah, I haven't insulted you. I haven't implied that you're lacking in knowledge. I haven't said that you're learning. I haven't asked if you have a good comprehension of the English language.
That's not an insult.
No, it is. It's belittling. He's belittling people because this is his way of winning arguments.
I'm not winning an argument.
Well, I agree.
No, I'm not winning an argument. You agree, yeah?
I agree you're not winning the argument,
fine,
yes.
So I'm teaching you then, yeah?
No, you're not winning the argument.
Okay, no problem.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I probably agree with that as well.
Okay, good.
Listen, what I'm saying...
What do you want to say?
Okay. Well, my understanding from the Islamic point of view is that perfect preservation means there is no change in any of the Arabic word for word, letter for letter.
Good.
Right.
Where's the source for that?
Muslim scholars.
Who?
Okay, Zakir Naik.
Zakir Naik is not a Muslim scholar.
He's not a Muslim scholar. Ahmed Dida.
He's not a scholar on this.
No,
he's not authority.
Okay, Dr. Shabir Ali.
Not authority.
I'm just going to keep naming scholars. You're going to go, not an authority.
They're not an authority.
So they don't know Arabic.
No, they don't. I mean,
they don't know Arabic.
Doesn't know Arabic. No. Number one. First of all, he says it himself. He says it in his lectures. I don't know Arabic.
Dr. Shabir Ali know Arabic.
Yeah, he does, but he's not an authority on this topic.
He's not an authority.
He's not. So let me explain.
So he's not an authority on the earliest Quran manuscripts.
Of course not.
Dr. Shabir Ali.
Yeah, he's not. He's an authority on Christianity. That's why he's done his PhD in. Yeah?
He's done his PhD in Islamic studies as well.
As far as I remember, he didn't do his PhD on manuscripts and early codices. No, he didn't. You don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure he did. I'm pretty sure he did.
Go and ask him. I've got his number on my phone. Do you want me to call him now and ask him for you?
You can, yeah.
I've got Zakir Naik's number on my phone as well.
We'll have a chat with Zakir Naik.
Oh, yeah. Would you like me to ask him for you?
If you like to.
These people that you're mentioning are not scholars of this specific field by their own admission.
Why did Dr. Yasser Qadi peer review?
He didn't peer review. He's not an authority in this field either.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
No,
he's not. I know him personally.
Oh, sorry. My mistake.
You don't know what you're talking about, sir.
No, Dr.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Yasser Qadi.
Yeah.
Is an expert on Quranic manuscripts.
No, he's not.
He's not.
No, he's not.
Okay, he peer reviewed Dr. Daniel Brubaker's book.
Look, excuse me. He's never once, Yasser Qadi, I know him very personally.
He's never written a letter to Dr. Daniel Brubaker.
That doesn't make him an authority.
It's a peer review. He peer reviewed his book. He
works.
He's a doctor. He has a PhD. He works at the University of Rice. He peer reviewed a book about Quranic manuscripts.
Just to be clear, Yasser Qadi's specialism is theological heresiology. In the early days.
Well, he's doing something wrong then, because he's peer reviewing.
Anyway, look, I don't want to get into this.
You got that wrong though.
I know him personally. I speak to him regularly.
Okay. Well, I've read his reply to Dr. Daniel Brubaker's book.
His aqidah, basically.
Okay, but he feels that he can reply on Dr. Daniel Brubaker's book about the Quranic manuscripts.
Dr. Shabir Ali, by the way, his PhD is in biblical literature.
Sorry, I misspoke. When I said Shabir Ali, I meant Yasser Qadi. Sorry.
Okay, look, Chris. Sorry. Let me just explain to you who our authorities are.
Sure. Well, are you in a position to dictate though?
Pardon? Yes, I am.
You were in a position to dictate who the authorities of Islam are?
Yes, I am. Because this, in accordance with basically the view of scholarship, Islamic scholarship. So, for example, we have three groups of, you can say, the mutaqaddimin. In the mutaqaddimin period, which is the early period of Islam, you have the Sahaba themselves, the companions, like you mentioned, Mas'ud is an authority, a major authority, Ibn Abbas and those guys. And then you have the Tabi'in and so on, of course. But then, in terms of written works, you have people like At-Tabari. He's a major authority. Abu Amr al-Dani, he's a major authority. These are the early authorities.
Okay.
Hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
Why are you...
Because you want this to be a lecture. I've made points and you don't address them, you just go into a lecture.
No, because the reason why this is important, your point, you said that preservation means perfect preservation, that there's no...
And you disagree.
You said what? Can you repeat
I said that there is no difference in letter by letter, dot by dot.
But I'm saying no one said that.
No one said. I can't find people in this park who have said
that there is. About this park? This park is either
okay, so you're disagreeing with Mansour. No. You're disagreeing with Mansour.
No. Let me. I don't know what Mansour said. So for me to disagree.
Okay, Mansour said there is no difference in the Quran from.
Sorry.
Okay, so Mansour's wrong. He's just
I'm not going to say that Mansour's wrong. You're putting words in my mouth. Be genuine with yourself.
Okay. I am being genuine. I know what he has said. I have spoke to him personally, and I have seen videos. See, when I give you an argument, you say it doesn't matter.
No, I'm saying it doesn't because
right. So I've demonstrated to you that Muslims do make that argument.
Who?
Mansour. I literally gave you
I'm
one
telling you
reference.
authorities, you're telling me Mansour.
Right, okay, so Mansour isn't an authority
So
on
are
this.
we
He has
authorities?
no idea.
We're not authorities.
Well, you just said you could teach me.
No.
You're claiming to be an
Please,
authority.
Chris.
People in
No,
this
no,
crowd
no,
call
no.
you a scholar.
No,
You're aware of that?
That's a mistake.
Okay,
I'm not
don't call
authority.
this guy a scholar. He's not a scholar.
Yeah, please, yeah, of course.
Right.
I've never claimed that
Okay.
about myself at all.
So let's just
Chris.
get rid of this whole teaching thing then. Let's just make an argument and a point-by-point conversation.
whatever you
yeah?
wanna call it.
Okay.
Okay,
So
no
I'm
problem.
saying there were early disagreements about what the Quran should have been by the
Chris, your
Sahaba.
first point-
Do you
sorry.
understand that?
No, excuse me. Chris, your first point was that you said preservation means that it's there's no change in any words.
Right. Letter by letter,
Yeah,
dot by
that's
dot.
not
Sure.
true.
Bar by bar.
For example,
So
let me give
are
you
you
the-
saying that that's
Chris,
not because of
let-
it? No, I need clarification.
No,
What are you saying?
what I'm saying is
Right.
that the understanding of preservation, hifz, yes, the understanding of hifz or preservation is not that there's no variance. That's
So there are variants in the Quran.
everyone agrees that.
Everyone agrees there are variants in the Quran.
Yes,
Do you all believe in that?
Yes, Chris.
Wow. All right.
Chris, yes.
Thank you.
Chris, yes.
My argument I wanted to come here
no,
today
excuse me,
was to
Chris.
demonstrate that the Quran has not been perfectly preserved, and you've disagreed to
No,
that.
Chris.
You've just
Chris,
what? That's
you-
it. We don't need any more.
You're either acting the fool or you are.
No. I only wanted to know the
You're
answer
either
to that
acting the
one
fool or
question.
You're embarrassing
No.
yourself.
I asked you. Look, see, you're ad hominem
Look,
again.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He just did ad hominem, and he just said it doesn't
It's
matter.
not an ad hominem.
Yeah.
It's an ad hominem.
See, again, he makes
it is.
insults.
No, it's-
He makes insults.
Yeah.
Why are you not capable of having an
I'm
argument?
having a
Instead, you insult and you belittle.
Chris.
Don't belittle me.
Okay, forget it. I'm not going to belittle you.
Yeah.
Let's deal with the arguments.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Early sources. Let me give you the exact.
Wait, let's go back to
please.
what I said.
Let me. Yeah. I'm going back
Okay,
to what you said.
perfectly preserved Quran.
Yeah, but what I'm
which-
saying is preserved.
Okay.
You're misunderstanding the word preserved.
Okay, what does it mean? What does
Okay,
it mean?
let me. Shall I explain it
Yeah,
to you?
yeah, yes, please.
Excellent. So now, there's two views in Islam what the word preservation of the Quran means. I'm being very generic here. Obviously, there's more.
Okay.
But two major views. Yeah, let's say. There's the views of what you call the Qurra, and the Mutakallimun. So this includes people like Ibn al-Jazari, who's a major authority in Quranic manuscripts and the Quran itself. It includes people like Fakhruddin al-Razi, who's a mutakallim, and others. That's one group. They say that in order for the Quran to be preserved, every single variant, because the thing is, first and foremost, the Prophet Muhammad said in the hadith, he said, "Unzila al-Quran ala sab'ati ahrufin." So the Quran has been revealed on 7 different variants.
Yeah,
So that doesn't mean to say that every single word of the Quran is variant. It means on select words, there are more than one way of saying it. And the reason why the Prophet said that, just the background, the reason why the Prophet said that is he said that it's in order to make it easier for a Shaykh al-Fani, like elderly people and other people, taysir, for making it easier, more facilitating, for people of different tribes, for people of different backgrounds and so on.
Okay. Listen.
Chris,
I'm not just going to let you just keep going on and on and on.
Yeah,
but I don't need all the backgrounds. I don't need the backgrounds. I just need the argument.
I know, but I need to. Please, just let me finish.
But I know this, so come on.
Do you know this?
Yes, everything you said so far, yeah.
You know that, yeah?
Yes, what I want to know is... Listen,
so let me test your knowledge.
Listen, I'm not here for let's see who's better at things. I just want you to make an argument.
What is, okay...
Muhammad Hijab, make an argument.
Chris,
make an argument.
Chris, pop quiz.
I don't want a pop quiz.
Pop quiz.
Why is he obsessed
with... What did the mutakallimun...
Listen.
What did the
just tell me, what is the interpretation
of
of the perfect preservation of the Quran? It's been 5 minutes now, you still haven't told me.
I've told you.
No, you started going on about, well, there are 2 different views.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What you've just done there is demonstrated your lack of paying attention.
No, listen, you're getting there. Just tell me the answer.
Chris, you're demonstrating your lack of paying attention.
Give me the answer.
The answer is, there's 2 major views.
Okay, what are they? Very quick.
Okay.
Here we go.
First view
Don't give me the background, just the point.
The first view is the view of the Qur'an and the Mutakallimun.
Okay, which is?
Which is that all of the variants that are intended by Sab'at Ahruf must be preserved.
Okay, must be preserved.
Yes.
Okay, so if there's any deviance in them, then it wouldn't be perfectly preserved.
What do you mean by any deviance?
So if I can find, Ubay ibn Ka'b had different surahs to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, right? And then
No, that doesn't count what you said there.
What does that not count?
No, I'll explain why that doesn't count.
Okay, tell me.
All right, so what we're talking about, Ubay ibn Ka'b, as I mentioned before, Ubay ibn Ka'b and Ibn Mas'ud, both of them, they concluded in the last lejna of Uthman ibn Affan that it's 114 surahs. So they retracted their earlier positions.
Right, okay, but they did disagree.
Ubay ibn Ka'b himself, there's nothing clear to show that he believed in chapter 115 and 16.
Okay.
And if there is,
I understand
he retracted.
that. I agree with that as well. I agree with that. That's fine. What I'm saying is though,
so that's the first view.
Right, okay, but let's just target that one first view and then we go on the second view later.
No, the second view is the one I take, by the way.
The first view I think is clearly wrong because they clearly argued about it.
No problem.
Okay, but that's
the second view is the view of a Tabari and the early people, like Abu Amr al-Dani. They say that in order for preservation to happen, all you need is one variant. And he gave an evidence for this. The evidence he gave from the Quran is that if you do a qasam, if you do like an oath, that you have three options: either tahriru raqabah, you either have to free a slave, or you have to feed the people. You have to fast 3 days. Yeah, that's in Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5. So the idea is, he said that you can choose one or the other. So the fact that you can choose one or the other, is the same thing with the variants. All you require for the preservation of the Quran, the minimum requirement, is one variant. Let me put this in. Let me show you the implications of this.
Right. Okay.
Let me tell you the implications. Right. So, for example, it's commonly known. I'm sure you know that is Surah Al-Fatiha, the first chapter of the Quran. It says, we have two ways of reciting the third verse, which is Malik Yawmuddin and Malik Yawmuddin. That the King of the Day of Judgment and the Possessor of the Day of Judgment. On this view, all you need for preservation of the Quran to happen is just one of those variants. So in other words, if I don't have in my possession both qira'as, Malik Yawmuddin, which is the possessor of the Day of Judgment, and Malik Yawmuddin, which is the King of the Day of Judgment, then still only one would be enough to preserve the Quran. And the evidence for that, they say, is, for example, when we read the Quran in Taraweeh, like in Ramadan right now, every day we read a portion of the Quran, we only really read it with one qira'ah. Some
depends
mosques,
where you are.
Yeah, some mosques they do it in like many qira'ahs, like mosques. However, like every day they'll do a different qira'ah. The point is that the point I'm making is all that is required is just one variant. So if you're asking me, first of all, the issue of preservation. In terms of preservation, the conservative view of preservation of Quran is only one variant may exist, and that will be it. So that would mean if there's any other variant that's outside of the Quran, that's not part of the final codex or whatever, that could have been a variant which is sanctioned by the Prophet, but there's no requirement for it to be preserved from that perspective.
Okay, but I think that in effect concedes my point, which is that perfect preservation, at least on the second view, isn't perfect.
No, but that's the idea. They would say perfect is a subjective term, right? So we have to...
Right, okay, so what I mean by that though is, objectively speaking, there is not a single authoritative source, but rather there are many different sources. Your view on whether they're authoritative is, whether you accept the first view or the second view. But ultimately, if you accept the second view, then you would have to concede that it's not perfectly preserved because there are different ones.
No, I mean, it depends on how you define perfect. So they would say that is perfect preservation.
Right, but that's inherently not true. Like no textual manuscript scholar would say that's perfect preservation, right? Because there are variants.
Okay,
right? The presence of a variant means that it's not perfectly preserved.
No, but the variant itself is explained from within the tradition.
Right, that's fine. You may re-understand your interpretation of what it means to be perfectly preserved, but from a scholarly perspective, they wouldn't say it's perfectly preserved because there are different variants.
As I said, the word perfect is fraught with subjectivity. So we need to.
I'm talking about textual criticism. When we're trying to figure out what the original author said and did, right? If there are different copies that say different things, then we would have to concede that it's not, on that scale, perfectly preserved. Do you agree?
No, not like that. No. Because what they would say that they use the word kamal, which is the Arabic word for like complete. That's, I think, more. It's an easier way to kind of, because otherwise it's subjective. What's perfect? What's not perfect? So
basically, that's trying to get out of it.
What I will concede is that certainly there's a difference of opinion as to what is the minimum requirement for preservation in Islam.
Right.
There are some scholars who say that all of the variants must be preserved. Okay, and they say therefore the 10 major qira'ahs that we have today, that they must be, all of the variants that the Prophet said must be within those 10. Whereas the early view, which I take, is that actually that's not the case. That in order for preservation to happen, all you only require is one variant.
Right, but what you're talking about here, and I think you summed it up quite well there, is that preservation, not a perfect preservation, because ultimately if it was perfect in the way that we understand it from a scholarly point of view, there would only be one copy.
I'll tell you something, Chris, which I think you're right about. Yeah.
Okay.
When you do listen to, on prima facie value, when you listen to this kind of, when people say that the Quran word for word, letter for letter, it makes it seem as if there's no variance.
Right.
I agree with that. And I think that's a mistake on our behalf. That we didn't clarify that early in the da'wah.
Cool, yeah.
It's where people in the past, 20, 30 years ago, didn't explain to the people, because this is known to Islamic historians for 1,400 years. You know, textual criticism, for example, some say that, well, Islam doesn't have textual criticism, but the truth is, it's called naqd al-qira'at, or textual criticism of the qira'at. That was there in the early days of Islam. So people that know this field, okay, they will tell you that actually there was a textual criticism tradition in Islam.
Yeah, I agree that there was. I think largely because the companions differed about what their actual
the issue was not with the companions at all.
But they did differ about it, right?
No. The issue is never. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you. Let me make the argument for you.
Okay. Yeah.
If you look at Sahih Bukhari, for example, you'll find. I'll tell you exactly what you're saying. I'll give you the evidence for it.
Okay.
Abu Darda in Sahih Bukhari, he recites Surah Al-Layl, which is chapter 92 of the Quran. It's recited in the 10th qira'ah as وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. Yeah? And who created the male and the female? He says, no, I'm going to read it وَالذَّكَرِ وَالْأُنثَى. And the male and the female. So it's an oath. God is taking an oath. He says, and by the male and the female. He says, I'm not going to recite وَمَا خَلَقَ. He said, I heard it from the Prophet as وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. Yeah? Now the point is that on this view, you could say that, well, in that case there would seem to be a difference of opinion between the companion and the rest of them.
Right.
But this is where it's solved. For example, the famous hadith of Umar ibn al-Khattab and Hisham ibn Hakam. Let me finish, please.
Okay. To get to the point.
It's on your point. Please.
Fine, I'm trying, but you're
have to be patient, please. Just let me say. What I'm saying is that Umar ibn al-Khattab and Hisham ibn Hakam, hadith is very sahih, it's authentic.
Sure.
That there were Hisham ibn Hakam, who's a companion, he was reciting Surah Al-Furqan, chapter 25 of the Quran. And Umar ibn al-Khattab, as he was being led in the prayer by Hisham ibn Hakam, he said that I heard Hisham ibn Hakam reading the Quran على غير الوجه الذي أقرأنيها رسول الله, on a way that's different to the way the Prophet Muhammad taught me. So he said that, I'm not sure if you come across this. Right. Let me finish the hadith. Let me finish the hadith. So he got angry. He said, I got so angry.
Yeah, I've read this one as well.
And so he got angry, and then he waited for him to finish the prayer. He grabbed him.
And he took him to the Prophet Muhammad.
And then the Prophet Muhammad said, هكذا أنزلت وهكذا
It's been revealed this way and it's been revealed this
way. Exactly, revealed this way and this way. So we're showing what? Showing it goes back to the Umda hadith, which, or the main hadith, which is أنزل القرآن على سبعة أحرف. The Quran has been revealed in 7
different aruf.
Yeah, beautiful.
Different modes.
Great. You're good, mashallah.
So my question is then, it seems as if the early companions disagreed about what that was.
Yeah, but then the disagreement was resolved by the Prophet.
It wasn't by the Prophet though. It was resolved by Uthman ultimately, right?
No. It was resolved by the Prophet because look, I've just given you an example. We can agree,
I agree on that example. But what I'm saying to you though is that even after that, there were still arguments among the early companions who knew Muhammad themselves, who were great reciters of the Quran, and yet they had different understandings about what was Quran and what was not Quran. Then Uthman came along and standardized that Quran in your Sahih Hadith.
So there's a degree of truth in what you're saying.
Okay.
The thing is, here's the thing.
I appreciate honesty.
Yeah, there's a degree of truth. There was still, so some Sahaba, some companions, like as I said, Abu Darda, Ibn Mas'ud, Ibn Abbas, they would recite how they heard the Quran, which might have been different to the way somebody else heard it. But as I said before, they are saying they heard it that way because it's on this harf, on this way.
Right. But then you have to explain to me, why were they arguing about something if the Prophet made it clear which is acceptable and which isn't?
Okay, here's the thing. If it was seen as that they are saying something that's other than the Quran, it would have been deemed as kufr, as disbelief in heresy, which it never was. So this is why I say there was the degree of truth.
Right.
There was an atmosphere of acceptability.
Right. Okay, but we need to remember here. So
Your Muslim people are here. Come and stand in their presence. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah.
So my question is then, if so for example Ubay ibn Ka'b had 116 surahs.
But he didn't, like I said, he didn't. That's not an opinion that he kept, and that's not.
But at one point he did though, until the consensus was reached.
There's no evidence of that. He had two.
There's a hadith where he complains that he has learned how to recite. He has memorized 70 surahs of the Quran, and he's complaining they don't take all of what he says.
No, there's no evidence. Yeah. There's no clear evidence that he took 115, 116 as the Quran. Yeah, these were just two du'ats that he put. Du'a al-Qunut, it's called. He put them in his mushaf.
Yeah, he put him in his Musaf. So he was considering Quran, and there were differences about whether or not that should be Quran or whether it should be Dua.
Here's the issue, right? With the companions' masahif, for example, they would write on it. So they would put their notes on it. They were not meant to be the official standard copy. The official standard copy of the Quran was the one that was collated by Uthman. Otherwise, if everyone of their personal copies was meant to...
Wait, but this came before Uthman. Uthman took their copies along with Zayd ibn Ka'b, his copy, and then he collated with other materials as well as other...
The first one was time of Abu Bakr.
Time of Abu Bakr, 634.
Yeah.
And they did that because there were...
I'm sure you have some...
What I'm saying though is that the first time it was written down in Abu Bakr's copy, they feared, and this is again in Sahih Hadith, they feared the parts of the Quran could be lost.
Say again?
The parts of the Quran could be lost. Yeah, you're aware of that?
Say again, sorry?
The parts of the Quran could be lost.
At the time of Abu Bakr?
Abu Bakr, yeah.
Yeah, but at the time of Abu Bakr, it wasn't, they weren't really concerned, they're hyperfixated about the Quran as a physical copy because there were so many hafaz. People have memorized.
No. There was a fear that that word you used. Sorry, I can't pronounce it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about 634.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what you're talking about is that when Umar ibn Khattab and Abu Bakr Siddiq were having a conversation, and Umar was on the side, Umar the second caliph. Abu Bakr didn't want to do. He didn't want to.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what he's talking about. Yeah. So Umar said no. He made those arguments.
So what I'm saying is that he made it clear.
He also made an argument from the Quran. So the Quran calls itself kitab.
Yeah.
So he says because what Abu Bakr was afraid of here was less to do with the preservation issue. It was more to do with the fact that he did something. He would do something that the Prophet Muhammad didn't do. So Abu Bakr Siddiq, in order to not do, Umar al-Khattab had to argue textually through the Quran in order to show that actually. Sorry, bro. In order to show, that. Sorry, son.
First view, I think that's evidently not perfectly preserved because there are things that I think are or were supposed to be in the Quran that are not in the Quran.
You can make that argument.
I would be convinced by it.
No. You can make the argument, but I'm convinced with the second view anyway.
Okay, that's fine. I understand that. But I think it's important for Muslims to know that first opinion is wrong. Example, I think it's quite clear. Perfect preservation. Perfect.
No, but the thing is, here's my point, Chris. These two people differed on the term perfect or perfection. Because the first group of scholars said, in order for there to be perfect preservation, all the variants must be preserved.
Right.
The second group said, no, only one variant. Yep. So for them, perfection was one variant preservation.
Is there an example in the early Ummah, or among the companions, where they believed that the Quran as they had it had been perfectly preserved?
When you say perfectly, what do you mean?
What I mean is that option one.
What about the Quran
what you just said, option one.
by God?
No, that's the point.
That's interesting, right?
I've not come across it.
Okay, what I mean is that I think there's a problem here in the park and among other Muslims.
The early days. I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is that is that Muslims seem to think that the Quran has never been changed or any part of it.
We're not saying it has been changed.
Well, I'm saying that there have been parts that have been lost.
No. Okay, that's different.
Okay, but that affects your version one. Do you see what I mean?
Let me tell you.
Okay.
Let me explain it. Changed and lost are two different things. The Quran.
Well,
if we say, look,
it is the kind of same thing.
If we say all the variations, all of the variations of the Quran, like when the person said, نزل القرآن على 7 أحرف, 7 variations. Is it conceivable on the second view that every single word must be said in more than one way? Some say no, it's not required. So for example, once again, if I were to say Malik Yawmuddin, owner of the Day of Judgment, that's enough. I don't need to say more for the Quran.
I understand that view. Yeah? That's fair enough.
So if for example, let me give you a hypothetical just to make this clear. If the qira'ah saying Malik Yawmuddin, which is 6 out of 10 by the way, 6 out of 10 qira'ah. If Malik Yawmuddin wasn't there, on the second view, the Quran would still be preserved. On the first view, the Quran would not be preserved. Do you get it?
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think the problem here then is that there are many Muslims who hold to the first view, not the second. And I just want to make it clear that the first view is wrong. Okay. Because you cannot say...
That doesn't have... Even if you go...
That's it. I think that's it. I think we actually reach a consensus there.
No problem.
Cool.
If that's good. Cool. Because if you say that the first view, which is that all the variants must be there, blah, 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 and the second view, which is that only one variant has to be there, what we would say is that in order for something to have creedal disproving implications, religious disproving implications, then the second view would have to be the one that's attacked, not the first. The first view is not sufficient. The first view is just a view of some scholars that came after. The ones who are closer to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like At-Tabari and Abu Amr al-Dani and others.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because,
they didn't believe that.
I agree. Yeah, it seems to me from what I've seen from the early Ummah, they didn't have the idea that there was some sort of nothing has been lost whatsoever. Everything is preserved as all the different ways that it was recited. Yes. I don't find that. I find the second view, which is what you've mentioned.
But so I think we would consider that preservation.
But you see, that's not.
Let me tell you why.
Wait, the second version.
Yeah. Let me tell you why. At-Tabari makes this argument, and Abu Amr al-Dani makes the same argument. He says, for example, I'll give you the same example. For example, if I done an oath, if I done an oath in Islam, and I have to recompense that oath. Now, when I have to recompense that oath, I have 3 options: freeing a slave, number 1, or fasting 3 days, or feeding poor people. Now, because God tells us you got 3 options, 1, 2, or 3, if I do one of those, this is how At-Tabari argues. If you do one of those, have I done what is required of me in a perfect way? Yes, I have.
Yes.
I don't need to do all 3.
That makes sense, but that's not in the context of preservation of the text.
At-Tabari is arguing that this is what I'm saying. He has a different definition of perfection.
Okay,
he's saying in order for perfect preservation to happen, all you need is just one qira'ah.
Okay.
All you need is 1.
Okay. I think we've probably done pretty well here, because I think that I managed to get an answer out of you, and I think that
this is always my position.
That was fine. It's fine. I just wanted to be more known, basically.
No problem. What I'm saying is it's better for us. Because now because the thing is, now that the challenge will be this, right? The challenge on the other side will be to prove that any variation that has happened the source of it ultimately was not the Prophet Muhammad. So for example, Malik versus Malik, owner versus king. How can you prove that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was reciting Surah Al-Fatiha to the companions, that he didn't recite it at least one time in his life, Malik Yawmuddin, which is owner of the Day of Judgment, another time Malik. We are saying the Prophet in the Hadith, the Hadith says that unzil Quran ala sab'ati ahruf. Quran has been revealed on 7 ahruf, or modes, no problem, Why the Prophet said for taysir, to make it easy for the people, like the Shaykh al-Fani and so on. So some words here and there, which the Prophet said two ways, and the Prophet even said that he asked Allah and Angel Gabriel gave him those. It's called Hadith al-Istizaza.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, the challenge would be to you then, since we finished, you've agreed with me, the challenge is, can you prove that any of the variations in the Qira'at al-Ashar, for example, in the 10 Qira'as, or elsewhere, the source of it was not Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asking the angel and so on?
I would say that I'm not so interested in the Qira'at, because I think the Qira'at is too late. I want to know about the Haruf, I want to know exactly...
I'm talking about the variations. I didn't say Qira'at.
Okay.
Any variation word.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But we have that Qira'at because of Hafs, and we have it from...
No, what I'm saying is, my question to you is, how can you substantiate, you say that any variation in the Quran that we see through manuscripts, through the Hadith, or through Qira'at, or through any other way, any variation historically identifiable, the source of it originally was not Prophet Muhammad based on this hadith.
Okay. I think there are other criteria to demonstrate that second option is wrong. So first of all, we know from early traditions, early Sahih hadith.
Do you see what I'm saying, yeah?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think there's other ways of doing it. I agree that that would be one way of doing it, but I think there's other ways. So I would say another way is if you can demonstrate that certain parts of what was once Quran have now been lost from the Quran, then that would be another way.
No, but that's what I'm saying is that's not true. That's only on
You
the
don't
first
think
view.
so?
No, because that's only in the first view.
But okay, but you would have to have at least one version of it, though, right? Because you're saying as long as you have one qira'at of it, then it doesn't matter.
That doesn't work. There's two reasons why that doesn't work.
Okay.
Number one is because, as we said, some variations.
Yeah.
Yes, those variations were acceptable within the Sahaba and with the sanctioning of the Prophet.
Okay.
Number two is we believe in abrogation as well. So these two things are. That's why you can't say, well, it's mentioned here in this manuscript, so it's mentioned there in this book that there's another verse here. Say, okay, I'll bring that other verse and say that's possibly part of what was originally sent to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay. Possibly, also possibly not.
Yeah, possibly.
So, for
not,
example,
yeah.
you know about the verses of stoning and breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is considered by some narrations that this should have been in the Quran. I know that you're ultimately going to say that, but I don't see any reason to believe that was the case. But wasn't there also a hadith where some people said actually this should have been in the Quran, but now it's been lost?
That's not what the hadith says.
Okay, what does the hadith say?
It used to be part of the Quran. The stoning one used to be part of the Quran, and then it was marfu'a.
But didn't the hadith say that now he fears that it's been lost?
No. It was It's consensus that it was part of the Quran.
Okay, but it no longer is.
Yeah, that's been abrogated from the Quran.
Okay, so
the stoning a sheikh or sheikha, farjumu kul wahid minhum al-battata, whatever that verse has been taken out.
Right. So there are parts that were once considered Quran that are no longer Quran.
Yeah, the Quran says that.
Okay, so the Quran has been perfectly preserved.
No, but the Quran says that itself.
Yeah, but if I write a book that tells you I'm going to remove page 3. By removing page 3, I've still changed the book.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Quran has a mechanism of that. So
Right.
when in chapter 2, verse 106.
Right, that's fine. I agree.
Let me just finish.
Okay.
In chapter 2, verse 106, when it says, "Ma nansakh min ayatin aw nunsiha na'ti bi khayrin minha aw mithlaha," that we don't abrogate a verse or remove it.
We bring something similar or better. Yeah. Right.
So there's a mechanism.
Okay, I understand that, but that in effect is agreeing with what I'm saying, because now you're saying, well, actually, it isn't perfectly preserved, but that's okay because that's what we should expect.
What you're saying is, all you have to do is find an example of something which is not in for example, the Qira'at al-Ashr or something, right?
Yeah.
To show that it's been lost. What I'm saying is that's not sufficient. Why that's not sufficient on the second view? It's not sufficient
because of abrogation.
No, that's one reason.
Okay.
Abrogation one.
Okay.
The other reason is because on the second view, not everything had to be preserved. Only one variation had to be preserved.
Right, but is there any other variation of the verses of stone feeding?
No, that's
stoning or
abrogated.
breastfeeding.
That's abrogated.
Yeah, but you see, that to me is just confirming.
No, that's abrogated by the companions. They said it themselves.
You see, you understand that? You gave me a challenge. I said, well, here's an example of something that was in Quran and now isn't.
No, what I'm
so
saying
there is no recitation of it. And your response is, well, there's a principle of abrogation that explains that. And I'm saying, in which case you're actually agreeing with me. You're just saying it's okay because it's abrogated.
What I'm saying is your criterion is not a good one, because what I'm saying is the Quran itself says in chapter 2, verse 106 that there are some verses that have been removed from it or been forgotten from it. It says that.
Yeah. So it's not perfectly preserved.
No, I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
I am understand what you're saying, but you're trying to argue that because you have the principle of abrogation, that this is a way of getting out of the way of saying that it's not perfectly preserved.
No.
But it cannot be perfectly preserved.
Going back to a subjective word here, perfectly. What I'm saying is,
I think perfectly means that there's one copy perfectly preserved. That's what one copy.
Okay, great. You think that?
No. That's the definition from textual variant of scholars.
No, but I don't care what they say. Why should we care about what white men say about what perfect preservation is?
What? Why are you making a why are you making a racial thing?
No, it's a racial issue.
Don't leave white or black. It doesn't matter.
I can say what I want. Sorry to say. What, are you upset about that? White men, yeah, white. What's the problem?
Do you have a problem with white men?
No, I have a problem with white men. I've said that just because, for example, a white man.
Yeah, but if I said we should ignore the opinion of brown people, that would be considered seriously.
No, I didn't say ignore. I said why should we be forced to accept a definition of a white man? Why should we be forced for that?
Well, I'm not saying you're forced. I'm saying scholarship.
No, that's not white scholarship. Western scholarship.
Right.
Why should we the
Muslims? Wrong with
we have our own scholarship. We have our own tradition.
Right,
why should we be pigeonholed? Why should we be forced?
Okay, so you reject Western scholarship.
Pardon?
Do you reject Western scholarship? So you affirm Western scholarship?
Is it a matter of a rejection?
Well, yeah, because you just said that why should we even consider it?
No. Let me be clear.
Right. Okay.
Just because a white man says something, it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, I know that. I definitely know that.
For example, if I get a Cambridge dictionary, if I get Cambridge dictionary and I open it up and it says, give me the word fear. and it says the Cambridge Dictionary says the word fear means X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
The person who wrote the Cambridge Dictionary is a white man. Okay.
Okay, sure.
You can see that in the back of the editorial process.
Yeah, but I don't get why
just
you
because
care.
you bring me that dictionary definition,
Yeah.
I don't need to be forced to believe that that's what it means because
Okay.
a white man wrote it.
Okay,
So what
no
I'm
one
saying
ever
is,
said
if
that.
you said to me, what I'm saying, you said
Yeah.
a perfect preservation
Yeah.
means this according to textual scholarship.
Yeah.
What you actually mean is,
Yeah.
according to Western
Yeah.
textual scholarship, which is dominated by white men.
Doesn't matter if it's dominated by white men.
No,
It doesn't matter if it's dominated by black men
No, it does
or
matter.
Asian
No,
men.
it does matter.
Why does it matter?
Why should I?
Why have you racialized this? I don't understand.
No, why not?
Why not?
Is there
Why
a
not
problem with saying white men? It's a
racializing
fact.
it? You're
Yeah, I don't care.
racializing
I don't
scholarship.
care. I don't care. I don't care. Call me whatever you want to call me.
Man,
If you
come on,
consider
man.
that racism, consider it racist. I don't care.
Yeah, but
It's a
man,
fact.
Why do
It's a
that?
fact.
Why do that?
Why not?
Why not just what? Okay, would you accept a white scholar as much as you would accept an Arabic scholar who's brown? Would you
Yes,
accept them as
but
equal?
what I'm saying is, what I wouldn't accept.
You wouldn't.
Did I say I wouldn't?
You said no.
I said yeah.
You went yeah. Then
I
you looked
said
at
yeah,
me.
he said he thinks
No,
it's
you
wrong.
went yeah. Then you went no. Would you accept
Yes,
them as equal?
but what I'm saying is, what I wouldn't accept.
You wouldn't.
I
So
think
it's okay,
You're,
so-
you're not listening.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, just because a group of, for example, the UN, they
Okay.
have the 30 articles of the the human rights law.
Sure.
Okay. This was written by white men.
Okay.
So if you say to me human rights is defined by the 30 articles of your UN resolution,
Okay.
I say, for me, morality is not defined by what the white man decides.
That sounds awfully like you're not trusting it because they're white.
No. It's why should white people have a hegemony on the rest of the world?
It doesn't matter their skin color.
No, it does matter.
Their skin color matters.
No, it does
Wait,
matter.
does that mean that
It does matter. Why should a white man?
if I was a scholar of Quranic studies, right? If
Why
I'm
should
not,
a
but if I
white
was,
man have-
would that mean that my skin color invalidates that?
Did I say that?
Well, yeah, you kind of said that
No, I didn't say
white
that.
people, that
say
scholarship
that.
is dominated by white people,
No.
so you shouldn't
what I'm
trust.
saying is this. No,
Western scholarship.
No, I didn't say that at all. I didn't say that at all. What I'm saying is,
I think perfectly means that there's one copy perfectly preserved. That's what one
that's
copy.
your okay. Great. You think that?
No. That's the definition from textual variant of scholars.
No, but I don't care what they say. Why should we care about what white men say about what perfect preservation is?
Is
You're
that
lying.
not what he said?
You're lying. You're clearly lying.
You said
You're
that
clearly lying.
Western scholarship is
You're lying.
made up of the majority of white people,
No,
and because
no. What I
they're
said is-
majority
what I said is
white,
clear.
you shouldn't trust it.
Did I say that? Well, it's on camera. If I said that, then they could catch me out. No problem. Go on. Call me racist. Do what you want. Call the police. Do what you want.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay,
Wait.
so this guy's doing
What
that.
were you talking about?
I don't know. He brought it up. He said
Look,
like white people. I'm like, what?
No. It is. I made a
About
simple
white
statement,
people
and
and
you
how-
took it, and tried to make it racial this and racial that.
No, you made it racial by saying it.
It is. I said, why should
No,
I?
you just said. I said Western
My question
scholarship
to you
is
was one: why should I be forced to accept?
No one's forcing you anything.
All right, great.
That's all he said.
No one said force.
That's good. So in that case,
Right? Do you
go
accept
back
Western scholarship?
when it's right?
Okay, nothing to do with race though, yeah?
Have I said this?
Well, because you were saying it's dominated by white men.
Yeah, no. But if white people talk about black people's history,
Okay.
then there's a question here. Why should a
There's
white man?
nothing wrong with people of different
No.
colours
If a
talking about
white
different
man
things.
speaks about black
Right.
people's history,
Okay.
for example, in Africa, they've
Okay.
never lived in the country. They haven't
Right.
lived
So
in.
they can't talk about it
They can
'cause they're
talk.
white.
No, they can talk about it.
Okay.
But they're going to have limitations as white people in the West. They're going to have those limitations, and we.
But only because they've never been there, not because they're white.
Yes. It's not because
Okay,
their skin colour.
okay.
It's because of the
Don't
geography.
say
Yeah.
say skin color then. Just say because
Okay,
they're
thank
not
you for
there.
your advice. Thank you for your advice.
Yeah, but
Going back to the
dude,
point.
all right.
No, hold on. This is very important. If I, for example,
Should we stop talking about race?
It's up to you, but you're the one who
Let's
brought
just
it up.
stop talking about race now, man. You did bring it
I
up.
said, why should I be forced
Yeah.
to
accept Western scholarship that's dominated by white people.
Yeah,
That's
why
what you
should I?
said.
That is the genuine question. I
I
shouldn't
don't have
be.
to go by that.
Why do I have to go by that except for that?
No. I don't care what someone's skin color is.
Okay,
I
good.
don't understand why you
I
put
don't
it
care
up.
what you say, but
No,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
specifically said he
did
doesn't
say-
trust
he did
Western
say-
scholarship because it's dominated by white
Yeah,
men.
but I don't think you meant because of colour of skin.
Yeah, it's not
I
the
know what
causative
you said.
reason.
Okay, so it's
because
not race.
Anyway.
The cause is not the pigmentation of your skin, or lack
Right.
thereof in your case, yeah?
Sure.
It's not the fact that you're white and
Sure. Okay, so it's not
the
to do.
Prophet ﷺ told us very clearly there's no difference between a white man and a black man.
Except for in Western scholarship.
Sorry?
Except for in Western scholarship, because that's what you said.
What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
just because you have a hegemony, because you said
On
scholarship.
race, apparently.
See, now you're forcing it upon him. He's poisoning the
No,
world.
that's what you said. You said white people.
White people,
Yes.
right now,
In Western scholarship, that's what you talked about.
Yes.
Right.
If
See,
if
you
white,
missed it.
white people, it could be black people, it could be brown people, Western
Right,
people.
right.
Let's
I'd
use
rather not talk about people's colour,
Bro,
but
I don't
you
care.
keep doing
I
it.
don't care what you care. Well, I said my
Okay,
statement. You
alright.
can do what you want with it. Honestly, call me what you want. I don't care.
All right. Well, let's get out of
Look,
this because this
the
is
point is
fun.
this.
Yeah.
Perfect preservation.
Yeah.
We have our own definitions of it.
Right, which
You have
does
your
not
own
meet the scholarly interpretation interpretation.
The
of what it
white
means.
man's interpretation. No,
Now do you believe
no,
me?
no, there you have it.
I gave him every opportunity to get out of that. I gave him every opportunity.
It's a subjective term. Look,
Why is it subjective?
perfect is subjective.
No. If you would
It's not like
listen,
2 plus 2 equals
with
4.
textual variance, textual criticism.
What does perfect mean?
It means that there is one copy of something that we
According to
know
who?
comes from
According
one
to who?
author.
According to who?
According to anyone who studies textual variance.
Like who?
Any scholars of textual
Give me one.
variance. Dr. Daniel Brubaker.
So white man. No, not white. No,
Come on, man. Man, you're digging yourself a hole.
No,
Just
he's
get
a
out of
white
it. Just
Islamophobe.
get out.
Hold on.
He's a white Islamophobe.
He is a white Islamophobe who's appeared in David Wood's channel. You're giving me him as a source.
So
Why
now
should
you're
I accept
saying.
this?
What do you mean why should you accept it? It's academia. Why do you not accept academia?
Well, because a white man wrote it, I have to believe in it.
No, any colour.
Okay, any color. If he
You
was
do
black-
know that Dr. Yasser Qadi studies, right? Like, I think he studied at University of Rice. I think it might be a different one. You're not saying that you would accept him because of the colour of his skin,
I
right?
don't
You wouldn't
care
say
about
that.
him or anyone else. I'm saying that the
Only
word-
if they're white.
Look, excuse me. The word perfect.
Okay.
Let's forget about race now. Yeah.
Yeah, so you need to
good.
get out of that.
I don't need to get out of that. I've said what I said. I've been saying
stand
this
by
from
your words.
2012. Yeah. I've been
Okay.
talking about.
Okay.
There is an issue with race here. There is an issue with
What?
race.
There's nothing. Race has nothing to
Because
do
there's a
with this.
post-colonial reality, yeah, where whiteness is actually something which is a
Whiteness?
part of the discourse.
Whiteness?
Yes, whiteness, the skin color itself. In my country,
What's
where I'm from-
whiteness?
Look, whiteness, your color. Do you understand or not? If you go to a country
Okay,
like, if
so
you go to a
white
country,
people.
excuse me, if
Yeah.
you go to a country
Yeah.
like my original country,
Sure, I don't know what that is,
all
but
right, which
sure.
is Egypt, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Or you go to parts of India,
Yeah.
they have a caste system whereby the lighter skin you are, the better you are. There is a racial element.
And you don't believe in that.
No, I don't believe that. The whiter you
Okay.
are, the better you are. No, I don't. Do you
Right,
believe that?
or the other way around.
Do you believe that?
No, I don't believe that at all.
Okay, good man. That's what.
Okay,
That's what
okay.
that is.
But
So-
my
so-
point
so-
is why do you keep talking about whiteness?
The reason why whiteness is important, my friend, yeah, is because
You just told me it wasn't. Okay, go on, keep going.
it's important in some aspects. For
Yep.
example, writing of history is
Okay.
because, for example, in the colonial period,
Okay.
a lot of the reason why people enslaved or colonized races
Okay.
was because they believed that their race was better than that race.
Okay.
Do you know that or not?
No,
For
sure,
example, the
I'm fine.
transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah, I know
When
about
they
that.
went into West Africa,
Sure.
part of the justification of doing that, Darwin himself writes in his book
yeah.
that he thinks that the black man has
Okay.
a fifth toe. or
What's this
something.
got to do with whiteness, though?
Because it's whiteness is part. Look, for example, Nazi Germany. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
When they were doing scientific experimentation in the 1930s,
Okay.
they were doing eugenics programs.
Yep.
Their idea was that the whiter you are, the better you are.
No, the more Aryan you are, the better.
Yeah, that's whiteness skin.
No, that's not. You don't know what
Bro,
Aryanism is.
sorry, but it's
You do know
whiteness.
that include people from
They
Iran?
mentioned that the blacker you are,
No.
I can give you sources for it.
If you look at what, I don't know,
you're-
why
so-
are we talking about
So
this?
you're
man?
hold on.
Look, we were
he's
going. We were
defending
talking
Hitler. By the way, he's defending Hitler.
I'm defending
He's defending
Hitler.
Hitler. Yeah.
Really, dude?
He's
No,
defending,
Hitler was
yeah.
abhorrent.
No,
You seem to
you're
be
defending the eugenics
No,
program.
you're
of Hitler.
defending. You're defending
Are
that
you doing
whiteness
that?
is some sort of like.
Have I said that?
Yeah, you said whiteness. You used the term
I
white.
said some sort of what? Go on.
You
Finish
used the
sentence.
term whiteness.
What have I said about it?
And you said that whiteness was an important thing in
It
the
is
in the
important
context
thing.
of academia.
Of course it is, because
that
there's
is a racial
it's-
statement.
Yes, it is a racial statement. It's not a racist statement. It's a racial statement.
Well,
I'm
I
saying
mean, it
that-
is specifically about
no,
white people,
because
so-
there has been a history where white people have gone into.
Yeah.
black
Every race
people's
has done
country-
things to every race. You
No,
understand
but they're
that?
doing it on the basis of race.
Many people have done things on the basis of race.
White people in particular. White people
Everybody
in particular.
has. Everybody has.
Listen, with all due respect, I made my point. I've said my point is this:
Okay.
if in the post-colonial literature you do find history is coloured, no pun intended, is coloured by the racial preferences and superiority complexes of white people for the last 100 years. I know that exists.
Okay, so does that mean you accept or reject Western
I'm
academia?
not saying that I accept or reject. I'm saying that I look at all evidences on the basis of the evidence. But you have to appreciate there
Okay,
can be
on
a
evidence,
bias.
not on
There
skin
can
colour.
be a bias
Okay.
that has to do with race. There can be a bias that has to do with placement.
Are you saying there
geography.
is a bias on race?
Yes, there is. Well, historically, of course, there has.
No, no, I mean like now.
Yeah, of course there is. Have you not seen the?
Wait, so, okay, wait.
Have you not seen many?
One thing is, I want to...
Sorry, let me just answer your question.
Okay.
Have you not seen race realism?
Race realism.
What is race realism? Race realism.
Is it saying there's inherently qualities in race that are superior to others?
Exactly.
Right, I reject that, absolutely.
Great. Beautiful.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Race realism exists. Race realism says that the whiter you are, basically the cleverer you are. They use IQ and other things to say that the
Well,
blacker you are.
it's any race, really.
Okay,
It's the
no,
idea of
do you
racial
reject
supremacy.
that? Do you reject
yeah,
that?
absolutely.
Excellent.
I reject it.
Now, you reject that,
Yep.
but you can't assume all of your peers do. A lot of your...
Okay.
I'm not
I've never
considering-
met a single person who affirms that, by the way.
So race realism, who's it upheld by? By nobody.
I don't know, like the KKK?
No, it's not by the KK. It's an academic thing, bro. It's in
People-
academia. People equate.
Right. Is it a popular view in academia?
Yes, it's
It's
quite
a popular view in race
academia.
realism.
It's popular, yes, it's very popular. Extremely popular.
That there are certain races more superior than others.
Yes, of course.
Can you name scholars?
Yeah, of course I can name scholars.
Name me two.
I'll give one. Yeah, one for now. Charles Darwin. Bro, very clearly, Charles Darwin.
From
Now, hold on.
200 years ago.
No problem.
Come on. Name me one today. Name me one today.
Wait, hold on.
I know. Name me one today. Name me one today.
Excuse me.
Name me one
Wait,
today.
Let me finish.
Okay.
I'm not going to meet your arbitrary requirements. Wait, hold on.
He's lying.
Let me finish.
He can't tell you because he's lying.
No, I'm lying. You can
Yep.
go and write race realism and see.
You know, academia is probably the least racist place.
You think that white people have not been racist in academia? Is that what you're saying?
No, but white people have been racist.
Now.
Yeah, there are racist people
And that,
now.
racist
But you're saying that most or a popular view in academia right now is
Yes.
race realism,
Yes.
which means that certain races are superior to others.
Yes.
And you can't tell me two of them. Two
Well, I'm
academics.
not an expert in race realism, to be honest.
But you know this though.
Yeah, I know. It
Wait,
exists.
you're not an expert on. Well, okay,
I've
yeah.
never said I was an expert.
Yeah, I understand that, but you're talking about it as
Why
if you
do-
know who these people are, and you're saying there's a big problem in academia.
Great, Sam Harris.
He's a race realist.
He's a race realist.
He believes that certain races are superior to
Sam
others.
Harris, yeah.
Okay, I'll take your word on that. I
Very
mean,
clear statements from what he says, Sam Harris, that he believes that he hints at it very clearly. And
Hints at it?
He hints at it, and in his public speeches, but I've read it in his works.
so if I email him, he will confirm what you're saying.
Ask him this question. Ask
Okay.
him, is intelligence based on race? Is there racial differentiation? Sorry,
Wait.
is there differentiation?
No, you're
Is there-
deviating now
No,
because
is there-
I
hold
made
on,
it very
hold on.
clear
Hold on,
you were
hold on.
talking about supremacy,
hold on.
as in one
Yeah,
race in
supremacy.
its entirety is better than another race.
Are white people
Right?
biologically are they biologically superior to black people in intelligence? Ask him that question, see how he answers. And tell me how that goes.
I'll tell you how that goes.
Tell me how it goes.
But Sam Harris is not a mainstream academic scholar. What you think most people agree with Sam Harris?
Sam Harris is not mainstream.
No, he is in his popular writings, not in academia.
Well, I agree with that.
As someone who's looked into Sam Harris,
No, fair
who's
enough.
read the moral landscape, I can tell you that.
I actually agree with you.
Okay.
Fair enough. But he's part of the public discourse.
Okay, I agree with that.
Okay,
yeah.
fine.
But I'm
But
saying
it exists.
academia
It
though.
exists, bro.
Yeah, I'm not denying it
Great,
doesn't
that's-
exist. I'm saying
race
it's
is
not
important.
it's not a big thing though.
You're saying
It's not a
racism
big
is not
thing.
important. I'm saying racism is important.
No, I'm not saying racism isn't important. Racism is a horrible thing, and it is important to challenge racism. What I'm saying though is that you seem to be inflating that with scholarship, and
No, I'm saying
no.
no.
that's not- yeah.
You seem to be thinking that anything that is scholarly is free from bias.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm
what-
saying that you're implying
what is
that
it?
Western scholarship about the Quran is largely through a lens of whiteness. I think.
No. Okay, I didn't say that. I've
you
never
don't-
said that.
you don't say that,
No,
okay.
now you've just you've put
I
words
don't
in my
think I
mouth.
put words in your mouth. Though.
You
I
have.
think
Yeah,
that-
yeah. I've never said
So
that.
what are you saying about Western scholarship and white?
Western scholarship of the Quran
Right.
is limited, just like Eastern scholarship of the Quran can be limited. Both of them are limited in their own ways. That's true. But what I'm saying is the reason why this all came up is based on the preservation discussion.
Yeah, and I said that based on textual criticism, the study of such, it makes no sense. No scholar would say the Quran has been perfectly preserved by that standard. By that
By
standard.
who? Which you said no scholar.
Of the Western-
So you're now
No,
you're
I'm
making
talking
it
about
yourself.
I'm talking about today.
Why is that happening today?
Because that's you.
Okay,
when you talk
for-
about academia, you talk about the latest.
Does that have to be non-Muslim scholars?
No, it could be any Muslim. It could be anything. It could be Muslims. It could be right.
He's a
But
huge scholar. He's
He's
written on the
an
subject.
expert on textual criticism.
He's one of the biggest experts.
What are you talking about?
You have to wait and see. Go on.
Quite a few things.
Go on.
Name topic.
Islam and the preservation of the Quran. That's
Keep
it.
going.
Well, what I'm saying is that scholars will not say perfect preservation, and the reason they wouldn't say
What
that is
do
because
they
they're
mean by
right? Because they're
I think we're running around in circles here. Do you understand?
okay.
What, 2 + 2 = 4.
I'll tell you what. How about you make a final statement?
Okay,
I make
fine.
a final statement, and then we end it there. You happy with that?
Okay, yeah, let's finish it.
Do you want to go first?
All right.
I'll go first.
You go first.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that it makes no sense for Muslims in the park or anywhere to say that the Quran has been perfectly preserved. Why? Because there was no understanding in the early Ummah that the Quran was perfectly preserved, letter by letter, dot by dot. Instead, what Muslims believe now is wrong. Perfect preservation isn't true. Muhammad has actually demonstrated through his view, his secondary view, that he doesn't believe that, and that he said that there are some scholars who believe that nothing should be lost from the Quran, because if something is lost, then that would illustrate that it has been not perfectly preserved. But that first view should not be held by Muslims. Rather, you should be honest and say, yes, there may be some cases where we have lost certain parts of it, but we have others, as Muhammad said, on the second option, and that is fine. This is the main part I wanted to talk to Muhammad about, and I think you've clarified that, and I'm happy that you understand
All right,
that, and that's good.
There's a few things I want to say. First and foremost, when it comes to where we started this discussion, you said that Muslims believe, you believe that the Quran is word for word, there's no differences, there's no change. I say that.
That's because I've heard Muslims say that. That's why.
You finished your conclusion.
Sorry,
now it's my
yeah,
turn.
my bad, yeah.
So I'm saying is that you've heard Muslims say it, popular speakers or whatever. I'm saying that we as Muslims believe that there are variants within some words of the Quran that are sanctioned by the Prophet, whereby the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said in the hadith, "Unzil al-Quran ala sab'ati ahruf." The Quran has been revealed on 7 different modes. So, which means to say that each word can have differences up to 7 according to Musattayal's view actually. He says that, so you can have those differences. Now those differences go back to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The reason for them is taysir. Yeah? The minimum requirement for preservation, according to At-Tabari, Abu Amr al-Dani, and many others, is that only one variation of the Quran, for example, as to recite Malik rather than Malik, not the opposite, oh no, not king, is required. Therefore, the existence of other things, or manuscripts, or hadith, or any other thing which would seemingly indicate Quranic content, which is not Quranic, on the second view, which is the Tabari's view and the early people, would be possibly Quranic, but not actually Quranic, because it does not fulfill the actual criterion. The criterion, by the way, for Quranicness is that it has to have a chain going back to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. It has to be in the Codex, and also that it has to be in line with the Arabic language. This is a triangulated preservation. So in order for the challenge that I put to Chris was that in order for someone to say that the Quran has not been preserved, on this view, they would have to show why it is that, or how it could be that those variants don't go back to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That's the only task you have. If you can show that, for example, Malik, owner of the Day of Judgment, Malik Yawm al-Din, versus Malik Yawm al-Din being the king, if you can show that those two things, the source of them is not Muhammad ﷺ, but in fact some other source, then you have an argument against the preservation of the Quran. Then you spoke at length about perfection or perfect preservation. I said that perfect is a word fraught with subjectivity. We can't rely on the dictionaries of Western people, or the so-called scholarship of Quranic experts in the recent times of what perfect. Even that, I don't think, they don't speak in the ways that you spoke. You have not mentioned one source. But having said that, what we consider perfect on the second view is that one variant is preserved throughout the Quranic script. And from that perspective, we do think the Quran is perfectly preserved. So it's not true to say, from our perspective, we don't believe the Quran is perfect. We believe the Quran is perfectly preserved. Any variant goes back to the Prophet. In order to disprove this point, you have to show that this variant has not come from the Prophet.
Okay.
That's done now. We're done now. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the chat anyway.
Nice chat. Wrap up words? That's it? All right. Concluding words.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had a bit of a chat with Muhammad Hijab about preservation of the Quran. Muhammad Hijab's view on the preservation of the Quran is not the same view that many Muslims have today and many Muslims have at this park. His view is different. His view is actually, so as long as you have one part of it that has been preserved, it doesn't necessarily matter if you don't have all of it. Now that is not perfect preservation. That is not perfect preservation according to scholars, and he couldn't name me any who thought that way. The only people who will think like that are people who are desperate to keep that argument up that the Quran has been perfectly preserved. The Quran has not been perfectly preserved. Muhammad has, in a very light way, admitted that. He holds to a different view than a lot of Muslims have today. And to be fair, I'm grateful that he's admitted that. I think that's fair of him, and I want to congratulate him for doing that. That's fair.
Well done, bro. Sorry, sir. Okay, Chris, nice one, bro. Thank you.
God bless.